All right, good evening all. We are going to call the meeting to order at 7:01. Three commissioners are here. Miss Lori Clark is absent. First order of business will be to look at the agenda. We want to change the lineup here for the agenda. Alan, did you want to change the lineup?
Well, I was hoping that we could do the position 2 thing just to get everybody on the way, but why don't we leave that until whoever it is gets here? Is it up?
He's right there.
Oh, he's there. Good.
Yes.
Super.
So
Okay.
we'll move position 2, Dennis Jepsen's vacant seat, to order business number 1.
Yes.
And anything else? No other changes to the agenda?
Nope.
All right, we'll move Dennis. All in favor of moving Dennis Jepsen's vacant seat to number 1? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. We'll move that first. All right, so before we get started with everything else, this is a special meeting, and we will have executive session after position 2, the discussion that we just moved to number 1. And we will go into executive session for about, we'll call it 20 minutes, being positive. And then we'll come out from that. We actually have 2 things to discuss. And as you can see by the agenda, there is no public comment at this special meeting. So number 1, position 2, Dennis Jepsen. Dennis left us last month for personal family reasons. His seat is vacant. The district has a couple of choices. The first is we can appoint somebody to fill it. And if we choose not to, it can remain vacant for 90 days, at which time the county can fill it. However, that being said, that position was up for election this year. And it was currently only one person by the filing date in May. I had to think about that for a minute. I apologize. Had to file for that position. We only have one person currently running for that position. And that person is here tonight. He has asked the board if he could fill that position, and so I'd like to bring that matter of business up to the board as a whole for discussion. And for those of you that don't know, bless you. Can I say? It's Mr. Kirk Huffer.
It might be public participation.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Huffer if he's got some comments or anything, and then if there's any questions.
Before we do that,
yes.
There are 2 people that I know of that have showed interest in that position. You know, the first question is, then why didn't they file to run? It's not my place to ask them that. And with that said, I don't think that it would be wise of us just to fill that position right now. I think we should follow the pattern we have in the past, and that would be for Kirk. And whoever else wants to turn in a resume, that we look at those resumes. We set a date for those resumes to be here. And then in July, when you're back, we select the person. We fill that seat. It's well within the 90 days. That would put it out about 60 days. But just to appoint someone when in the past we've had people turn in resumes, I think we're setting ourselves up for, once again, having double standards. And, you know, I know that there are people who are going to say, well, why didn't they file? That's not my place to ask. And anyway.
Alan?
I thought it would be clean just to get the appointment in, because he can't resign. And that means that when he finds out what it's like, he can't quit. Go through the term anyways. And I don't see any real return in having somebody on the board for 3 months to go away again, which is all these people would do.
Yeah, it'd be 3.5.
3.5. So it seems to me, you know, that it would be. So I disagree with you on that.
That's fine.
But for those reasons, and let's get the team together and sort of push the long push. But that would be my bias.
Okay.
And I do have similar concerns with if we put it 30 days and said our July meeting, have applications in, and we'll look at them, and then we come back in August. That would be August 15th. August 15th, we...
You don't even have to wait till, you can swear them in.
Right.
You could do this in June, do it in July.
Mhm.
You don't have to wait till August. I'm not saying that.
Right, but if we're going to wait 30... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you can swear them in the same night they're appointed.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, so if we waited 30 days, that would be the July meeting. And so they'd have July to August, August, September, September, October, and then with that position, the way it currently sits, Kirk is appointed once those election results are certified. And that's his chair.
right.
So,
It is true. Yeah, I talked to the election, of course, talked to the election office, and even if someone else were to fill it, they cannot run. They've already passed their date. I mean, I understand what you're saying. My only concern is that people who live in this district have the right to turn something in on that position, don't they? And that's the way we've done it in the past, right?
Well,
I know that the quick and easy thing is just to get it done. I understand that. My only concern is, what about people who say, well, hey, wait a minute here. Why did you do it that way this time?
because nobody else ran for election.
Okay.
And we're trying to get some sort of cohesiveness in the commission. And if one person has been willing or generous enough to give their time for the 4 years, I'm still thinking about that myself, then let's have them have 3 months or 4 months. And otherwise it's through the summertime and we're in and out, which means that the commission's going to be, we all won't be here every meeting.
Right.
And it's good to have a full bank of 5. Rather than having, say, like tonight with 3, you know, with just Lori missing, it's only 3, it's getting to be a pretty small rump of a commission. And so those are my arguments for it. I hear what you're saying, though. And,
I'm not trying to stick a stick in the spokes, you know, I'm really not. I'm really trying to look at this thing to where, you know, if somebody were to question, we're getting beat on for not being consistent. And in this case, I was wanting to err on the side of being consistent. This is the way it's been done, just to follow suit, just go with it again.
I don't mind getting beaten up with a stick if I think I did the right thing.
Okay.
And that's my
fine.
thing. I think I did the right thing, you know.
Yeah. And I can tell you after a couple months
So guess
here,
what, Mr. Chair, you're the casting vote.
well, we'd have to have a motion and all to bring this.
Well, with 3 of us, it's very hard. We'll each move the opposite motion and you can decide.
Somebody make a motion. We'll get some kind of second for discussion, and then we can get a vote.
I move that Kurt Hubbard be interviewed for the job tonight.
We have a motion for interviewing Kurt for the job tonight. Can I get a second?
I will second.
Thank you, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. The motion passes. All right, so Kurt, we're going to interview you real quick on running for this position. Is there anything you'd like to say before we ask any questions, sir?
Brought my thoughts, put them on paper a little bit here. I think I'd make it a good addition to the board. I've sat on this side of it quite a bit, and it'd be interesting to sit over on your side for a while, I think. And again, position's uncontested for the November election. So unless there's a really big push for a write-in candidate to, and that's a possibility that they could get more votes than I did if they had a write-in push. But as of November 26th, certification, I would at that time take the position. So,
You say November 21st, Kurt?
6th.
Sorry, my bad.
Certification.
Can they actually have a write-in candidate if nobody's running?
450, they have to have 450 signatures to be a write-in, correct? Does that sound about right?
You know, I'm not exactly sure on that. I do know that there have been pushes for write-ins in the past and in big elections, and they've actually had turns. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm that bad, certainly people get bigger. So anyway, it's a possibility. Maybe not a very strong possibility, but it is a possibility. I've been in Oak Harbor for over 25 years. I came here with the Navy in 1985, and I've been resident here in the city for that period. So we're within the district. The district's given a lot to me and my family for the last 5-6 years. 2 swimmers on a swim team. I definitely feel like I've taken advantage in a lot of ways, and I feel like it's my turn to give back, so that's a good way for me to do it, I believe. I'm currently employed with the auditor's office. Been there for 6 years with the county. I'm an accountant. That's my position there. I've got a degree in accounting from Western Washington University. I owned a small business from 1995 to 2001 in Oak Harbor. It was like a small landscape construction company. And retired Navy Reserve also. I retired in 2008. And again, it is uncontested, so I feel the sooner I can get on board, get going with you all, the better, really. There's no sense in wasting time sitting on the side. I think I can be a valuable contributor. That's it.
Thank you very much, sir. Do you have any questions for us? Steve? No? I did have a question. I called and talked to Kirk personally the other night because I didn't want to, A, blindside him, and B, it was a question that came up from a personal discussion, and I no longer have that question. He answered that for me, and I don't...
Yeah, and that was a good question.
So, and that's up to you. I'm not going to share it, but I thought...
Well, he was concerned that we may or may not stay in the area, and that was a good concern. And, lately we've discussed with our concerns about the swim team and our girls. We just don't feel that they've been challenged that much in the past year, and they're just a pretty high level of push. So, but we're hopeful, and we're going to stick with it. We really don't want to move. We like Oak Harbor. It's our home. So.
May I ask a question? Do you feel that you could be open-minded? Do you feel like your decisions are all made up? Because when you look, I've listened. I know there's some unhappiness, and I'm just wondering. Do you feel like you can be open-minded, or do you feel like I've got my mind made up on how I want things to be?
Well, I found in life that anytime I feel really certain of myself, oftentimes I can. When I am proven, I've been proven wrong a few times. In those instances, and it's tough when you really think you're right to kind of suck up your pride there and realize, hey, I just didn't see this.
And I didn't mean it disrespectfully.
No, it's a good question, and I try to stay pretty neutral.
Okay.
And I think I'm fairly personable.
I think you are too.
So, yeah, I'm definitely open to the other side of the table. Put it that way.
Thank you very much.
Well, anything else? Anything else?
No, just to the other side of the table, you're going to find yourself right in the middle of the table most of the time trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, there's a challenge in front of me here. There's no question about that.
But if you do a really bad job, you might get defeated in the election. So
That's true.
I have one more question. So one of the people who has expressed I guess, interest in the position, the thing that they brought to me was because they've been to some meetings, they've read minutes, they've seen things that's been said, and they are concerned that you would come in with an agenda. And that's what they thought. I'm not saying, it's not my opinion. That was their concern. And that's why they showed interest in this. Because they thought, I wish I'd returned my name. And I said, well, you should have. The thought was, yeah, but man, I don't want somebody to get in there that's just got an agenda. And honestly, Kirk, I don't think you're that kind of guy. But what would you have me say to them if they asked me about it?
I waited till Thursday night of that filing date to put my name in the hat. I was hoping somebody else would do it. But when no one did, I said, step up to the plate, put my money where my mouth is, basically. Again, I want to make the best decision for this district, not just the swim team, not just the dog park, but overall as a whole for people in this community. That's what we need to look at.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't think there's any more questions.
No.
I have no more questions. Thank you very much, sir. All right, so we've talked about it. We've listened to what Mr. Huffer has had to say.
I move that we appoint Kurt to fill the position position 2.
We have a motion to appoint Kirk Huffer to fill the vacant position 2 on the North Whidbey Park and Recreation Board. Do I have a second?
A second.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
When would he take tonight? We're going to swear him in tonight, or?
I did not come prepared to swear him in tonight.
So if we did, it would
have to be at the July meeting, which will, all right? I think we would be able to get that paperwork fairly easy.
So at the July regular board meeting?
Right.
Okay.
Is that all the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, Kurt. Thank you very much for running, sir. All right. I'm going to change the agenda real quick so that a lot of people also know when the next meeting is going to be. Any objections to that? Steve?
No.
Alan? Okay. The next meeting is supposed to be in July. It's supposed to be July 25th. I will be gone on scheduled vacation starting June the 12th till the end of the month. We are going to talk about the director's annual review tonight, and it needs to be completed as soon as possible in July. I would like to move the July 25th meeting for 2 reasons. One, because we have a lot that needs to get done. 2, it would allow us to get Kirk also on the board center and a more complete board. So
July 11th, did you say?
I said 12th is a Thursday, sir.
12th is the first day you're back, because 11th would be the normal day for you.
Yes, sir.
So July the 12th?
If we can get a motion, yes, we can do that.
Bill, are you looking concerned about that?
The 11th is a Thursday.
Yes.
Is the 11th Thursday? Oh, I
You're
apologize.
back on the 1st of July, right?
I am back on the 1st of July.
Make a motion that we move the regular board meeting scheduled for July 25th, 2013 to July 11th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
And that fits with you, Sean? I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to move the July scheduled meeting for July 25th to July the 11th at 7 p.m. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion is moved. Kirk, can you be here on July the 11th?
I think so. Is that a Thursday?
It is, sir. Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just 2 points of order. One is there still will be a meeting on June 27th. Is that correct, while you're gone?
We'll have to because it's on the agenda unless we want to cancel it. We could.
Will you be ready to give us a good financial overview by the 11th?
Sure.
I move that we cancel the meeting of June, whatever it is, 27th?
27th, yes, sir.
27th.
We have a motion to cancel the meeting from June 27th, regular scheduled meeting. Do I have a second? We can discuss it if you second.
I second.
Second, okay, we have a second. So now, discussion. I know Steve is checking RCWs right now.
I sure am. 'Cause
Good.
I want to know, how are we allowed to cancel it with 2 weeks to go?
I believe so.
I don't know.
Let's make sure, since we've got them out.
All right, here we go.
It's 3 weeks to go. It's only the 5th today.
It is only the 5th today. It is
I
the
guess
5th
that
today.
is 3 weeks. But
Yes. We don't have Lori's iPad, so we're going to have to go back to the paper system.
Mr. Chairman, while I was searching for that, the other point of order was, because this was on a resolution, I believe the original meeting schedule was on a resolution. I believe
Okay,
we
here
need
it
to
is.
revise that.
we have 20 days. Here's what RCW says, RCW 42.30.075. State agencies which hold regular meetings shall file with the code reviser a schedule of the time and place of such meetings on or before January of each year for publication in the Washington State Register. Notice of any change from such meeting schedule shall be published in the State Register for distribution at least 20 days prior to the rescheduled meeting date. For the purpose of this section, regular meetings shall mean reoccurring meetings held in accordance with periodic schedule declared by statute or rule. I think that 20 days is it, right? So if this is the 5th, 27th is fine. It's
27th
22
is
days.
fine, and we definitely made the July.
If you want to just rejigging on the resolution, what's the resolution number?
The resolution number is 1207.
Okay. I move that we amend Resolution 1207 to cancel the June meeting and to move the July meeting to July 12th or 11th, 2013.
So we have a motion to amend Resolution 1207 and cancel the June 27th meeting and reschedule the July 25th meeting to July the 11th at 7 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I thought that was a substantial no.
There was a pretty emphatic no. It was that mother no. Got all of our... All right, so we amended the resolution.
Could I get the RCW that you just read, so I make
Yes,
sure
you
it's
may.
right? Because I will file this tomorrow. And then I believe it'll be sufficient if we make the changes in pen on that and say revised, date it, and get original signatures from all three of you on both copies of that.
Could we actually...
All we got to do is put a piece of paper saying that we amend it
Yeah.
and sign it. Have the three sign it. That does it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay, well, this is the original.
Okay.
Right, so...
This is a photocopy of the original
Yeah, just put a
resolution. That's what I'm
note on
saying, right, is that you all sign it, right?
No, just write a note on it saying amended by resolution, whatever this one is, and we sign that one.
Well,
That does it.
and you can sign this page with a note on it.
No, we have to sign the
No, you
note.
have
need
to
a
make it
fresh
up.
resolution.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Whatever resolution it is in the
Okay,
sequence.
that's fine. So that'll be 1301, right? Okay. Thank you. And can the three of you get into the office within the next, say, 2 days to sign that?
Yes.
Or if I draft it up first thing in the morning?
Don't need to sign this.
No, I can't, but I'll sign it tonight.
Okay.
Do you mind hanging around that long after the meeting?
As long as we do it quickly.
Okay.
All right, so we got those two things done. The next item of business is the NWAC High School program, continued from 523. There was some serious discussion on the NWAC High School program. Coach, thanks for coming tonight. Coach is back. I know there's some questions about that, and it was tabled. So we're going to pick that up and continue with that.
Gotta find it. Is it in the pile of stuff from last week?
It is in the pile of stuff from the last meeting.
There we go. Okay.
All right. Coach, you want to give us a rundown on that program again real quick? Like, very quick?
Very quick. Two parts to growing the club, primarily from the top on down and from the bottom on up. Initial focus is focusing on lessons and building the club from the bottom up. This is an initiative to build and help grow the club from the top on down, if you will. Offer an opportunity to high school swimmers who want to have a broader experience in sport and thereby become members of NWAC and swim in a separate group that would be coached by the old coach and for the water time, and then our silver coach for driving. It's intended for high school swimmers to swim up, and it's certainly not for NWAC swimmers to swim down. The money pencils out to where let me first address the schedule. We addressed the 10-minute schedule, and we'll go to a 15-minute practice time, 5-0, as opposed to 1 hour. Therefore, no overlap of any existing coaching time. And the lane assignments would begin with 1 lane, and then we estimate somewhere about 7-8 kids that will be coming consistently, upwards of maybe 15. And we don't expect to, we have a plan to alternate if we get, 15 kids. If there's fewer than, 7 or 8, then we would be reducing time, invested into, in other words, reduce the number of practices. Okay. Based on the time involved, planning practices being on deck, I see it being a break-even proposition. So that's it in a nutshell. I think it's a real good thing for our community from the standpoint of offering alternatives and offering kids an opportunity who already have a swimming experience to broaden that experience.
May I ask, where did you get the numbers, the 7 to 8 kids?
We had a meeting with a couple of representatives from the high school and asked them, what kind of need do you think, what kind of demand do you see as part of this? And their estimate was about 15 kids, 7 to 8, which would be serious. In other words, they presumably on attending on a regular basis.
If you don't mind, who did you talk to at the high school? Was it the athletic director, swim coach?
It's Alex, swim coach, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
I guess listening to a lot of these things, and you'll hear a lot more about it tonight, but possibly, I would really like to know the community building potential of this program. The break-even stuff is something which one can sort of look at, but what does this do that provides something for the community? If our mission is to provide a wide range of programs for the community, and to do it as efficiently or as inexpensively as possible, on that side of the equation, how would you sell it? You did a little bit there when you talked about the kids having opportunity, but why would we do this for the community?
Because it opens doors into the club at a level that is age appropriate, and in other words, if you ask under the current structure, how would a person from high school who has some experience high school swimming, how would they weave into the club? There's gold, silver, and bronze, junior and seniors. Many of these swimmers may not be in the category to be swimming in junior or senior, and therefore would be placed, if you will, just simply on an ability in a gold or silver level. But these are much younger swimmers, so I think it's a more age-appropriate opportunity for an older swimmer to get that advanced experience.
So what you do is it's sort of a feeder system, but it goes outside of the traditional NWAC.
traditional NWAC, but, there are precedences, around the country. I just, quickly refer to Cambridge Aquatic, whose power group they run quite successfully down there. It's an adjunct to their, their full complement of programs that they offer, and it's specifically designed for, a kid that we refer to here.
And so if a kid gets entry levels for one of the programs in NWAC, they could move over if they wanted to take up swimming more serious.
Certainly, yeah.
So you said 245 or 335 in the water, right?
Yes.
With the gold. And then you mentioned Jared and the silver practice group coach with dry land.
Yes, 2 days a week, and that would be their option to, or it would be encouraged that they would conduct the dry land practice. We've been offered the facilities at the high school by the coach and the administrator to use those facilities. So Jared is on board completely with being able to run that time.
So that's 2 days a week. What kind of dry land time are you looking at for them?
Approximately the same 50 minutes.
So they end up at 335, and they go till...
No. They don't. It's on Tuesday and Thursday, and I have to. I don't recall exactly the time. I wasn't prepared to go into all of the detail of it tonight, but it doesn't conflict with his time. So I can provide some more information.
Okay.
So there's no crossover for any coach then?
No, there's no crossover.
So if it happened and it grew, what would you do? I mean, you have a dozen kids in one lane, or what if and when it grows and it's 50 kids in 5 lanes now? I mean, where's that point where you say, well, we just, because when you talk about it, and you say it in a way to where, okay, it's going to help grow the team. So say the team does grow. You have 50 kids in junior seniors in 5 lanes, and now you've got a dozen kids in one high school lane. Is there a point where you go, well, it's grown too much? It's just...
It's a nice problem to have.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
There are only 6 lanes. And
what I proposed was if we saw, let's say, a quick spurt in the growth, I proposed a hybrid type of practice whereby there's out-of-water opportunities, dry land on deck, and then in-the-water opportunities. That would be simply something that we use occasionally based on the need. If this is a constant need, okay, and there's demand in the high school program that is very consistent and it's evident that it's flourishing. My purpose, my very vigilant purpose was to make certain that we did not take lane space away from NWAC and instead opt for a expanded opportunity in the morning. So as we defer practice for the high school kids to, say, 5:30 a.m. practice, and we can look at what our lane space was available there. So, and again, the intention is that we recognize the value of the NWAC and
Our junior seniors in the pool at 5:30 in the morning,
at
correct?
5:30
And so who would coach them at 5:30 in the morning?
Well, that would be Coach Dolly.
And you would be able to keep her to 8 hours a day, so she wouldn't go over overtime, right? 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, right?
Well, I think what we're looking at is instead of the afternoon practice that would be 2:45 for 15 minutes, instead it's a AM practice, and she's hourly. So.
Right, but it wouldn't conflict with her afternoon practice, and then we wouldn't go over 8 hours a day,
She's nowhere close to 40 hours a week right now.
or 8 hours a day.
This is Washington, that doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter?
She's
Okay.
10, 11, 12, yeah.
So it's 40 a week for the FLSA
Right.
for Washington.
She's teaching swim school right now too, but still not even close to 40. So,
Okay.
yeah, she's
Okay.
fine.
And 5:30 in the morning is not going to take away, because I know we've got masters in the water in the morning. Well, I know, but we do have some masters that swim in the morning. And I know we've got junior seniors in the morning. So,
Just seniors. Right? They're just seniors.
is it just seniors?
I'll do the seniors.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd move that we approve this program and revisit it in a year with the actual numbers of attendance and then take a look and see what's happening.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the program and revisit it in a year. I'm sorry, I cut you off, sir.
And revisit it looking at the actual data. What is the enrollment and the different options? What has happened when you played it out and so on. So we can then have some facts to take a look as we head out into the future.
Did you make a motion?
Yeah.
I second.
We have a motion to approve and revisit in 1 year with data collected during that year. Do I have a second?
I do. Second.
Second. Discussion.
Alan?
Well, I moved it because I think that the idea of giving kids options and how to get into a program that doesn't lose its standards is a good experiment to try, and we don't know. I mean, we could be hypothetical about what the enrollment's going to be, but we'll know after a year as to whether this is something that floods the system, dilutes it, or if it's something that's good and we should keep on going.
I have, I would like to say, if we do approve this, I think a year is a long time to revisit it.
6 months?
I would love to see 6 months instead of a year.
Okay, I'm willing to say 6 months.
Suggestions, Chairman? At the end of the high school season in February, middle of February, we make some changes to the pool schedule at that point because the actual school district high school team is no longer here at that point. So that might be a good time.
8 months.
That would be probably a relevant time to.
8 months is fine with me. So
It's better than a year.
No.
So,
8 months.
so
I said 8 months.
8 months. So he changed the motion to 8 months after the high school season. So motion to approve the program, revisit in 8 months after the end of the high school season. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. NWAC vacation dues for returning seniors continued from 5/23. There's been, as was noted in last month's meetings, stop me if you want to, Coach. There's been the practice in the past that we let seniors swim for free. In the long, grueling process of this last year, we found out that we cannot do that. That is gifting.
I find that that's questionable.
If it's questionable, that's great. Bring it forward. Let's go at it. We can send that to MRSC and say what you've given us so far, and the state auditor is...
And I could be cranky on this.
No, that's be cranky.
I'll be short.
Yeah.
So I'll be short on it, but I have the cranky version in my back pocket.
Yeah.
There's been cases on this. I did this subcommittee report
Yes.
with Lori, and I went through a lot of data, and I've watched things that have happened over the year. And that data, there was no violation of the law per se, but there's an awful lot of violation of public issues. And one of the things that happened with the lifeguards was a really good effort to redefine an incident. Now, the incident, which was to provide lifeguards that we were secure with their competence to the high school system. Now, that's good, and that motivation was there. But then this range of emails that I've seen afterwards, and what we were told during the investigation, made me look at a really good job at reconstructing an issue so it was legal. It was illegal at the start. But by working through all of these emails, you found a way that the school system could write you an email, which then covered everybody, so there was no liability. Okay, well, let's take that skill now and move it to kids that are coming in the summertime. How can we do this? It's simple. A kid that goes through NWAC and graduates and goes away to college has an entitlement. And the entitlement is a continuation of the NWAC program for the time that the kid is in college, but visits the school or visits NWAC in the summertime. And that entitlement ends if the kid is no longer in college, then they have to join NWAC full-time. But it's something that we have and have had for years as a perk of the program, an entitlement, because the kids do all of their work swimming. They get up to the college level, and God bless them, they get into a college somewhere, and then they come back, and we say, welcome, welcome home, you're here, we're building the community, and you have that right because you made it through. Okay? You could do that. You did a really good job on that with the lifeguards.
So make it, can we make it an
It's not
entitlement?
gifting, it's an entitlement. It's an entitlement that goes with paying your fees in NWAC all the way through until you graduate from high school. And it's something that you get because you graduated. And everybody gets it. There's no specialty.
So everybody gets it. So
Everybody that's in
somebody
the
goes to
program,
school in Skagit Valley here?
as long as they're going to college, and as long as they're working away at their college,
Okay.
that's fine.
And why do we say that it has to be, and I'm going to play devil's advocate.
I sure hope you do. I haven't told anybody.
I like the entitlement thing,
Yeah.
but then say I am the 18-year-old that loves to swim. I swam competitively for NWAC since I was 8 years old, so 10 years with the team.
Yep.
I graduate from high school,
Yep.
and I've got my freedom because my parents were
That's
controlling,
right. And you could
not that this is
keep on
close to
going.
home,
Yeah.
and I start drinking and saying, you know what, I got this freedom, I don't want to go to college. I want to work downtown turning wrenches because that's what I'm good
That's
at.
perfect. You can use your pay to pay for NWAC.
Okay? Because I'm making money,
A person who can't afford to go to college?
Same thing.
No, that's not the same.
We'd have to subsidize them like they would a person that could.
Person who cognitively can't go to school. How about that?
Yeah, it's the same issue. Then it becomes an issue of can you pay for the program, not a matter of entitlement because you are, in fact, you've completed a program. You see, there's a difference between continuing and not being able to pay for it and going to college, which you're paying your money anyways for, and you shouldn't have a lot of money anyways because you got to live. Okay? And so what you do then is you come back and for the summer, you're home. And it's just that one little group, and if a kid drops out of college,
Here's what I'm afraid of. You get a situation right now on this team, when you look at the minutes, where some families owe thousands of dollars. Some owe hundreds of dollars. The majority of people pay their bills, they get it done. Exceptions have been made for people. Here's another case.
But that's-
We're going to decide who's the blessed and who aren't.
No.
So that's kind of what you're doing. Yeah.
No, they're deciding if they're going to college and they're going to work. And in fact, it's an incentive, if you want, for the kid because the kid has some recognition for going to college and then coming back with their friends. And the social return for that is that the kids on the team are playing around with people that in fact are saying, yeah, I go to college and this is what it's like. So you're opening up that world to them.
I
So
think
it
that
has a positive return.
Yeah, I was going to say on the positive return, I know that, speaking from personal experience, I know like if some of the returning seniors this year who came back and was swimming with the kids, it's invaluable. I mean, my daughter gets a lot from that on a personal basis. On a personal basis, I also know that there are kids out there that will not go to college.
Yes.
And so I see that as maybe a hitch to the giddy up, but I think it could be worked through. I would suggest something before. I think there's value added to seniors coming back and swimming. I think there's also an issue here with a tax-based district, with a tax-based program, because it doesn't matter how you cut it. The dues do not pay for the program. The district pays for that program.
We never expected them to.
Right, and we don't expect them to, and this board doesn't want to change that. So how do we reconcile that? And I think, I have a suggestion, I want to throw it out there for you guys to discuss, but I think if we're going to look at an entitlement, we have Coach Bill do the homework on it because he's the head coach.
How many people are there involved in this thing? Like, first of all, how big is it? How big's the number we're looking at?
Last year it was a handful of people.
Right, that's five?
5 or 6?
5 or 6.
We had John come back.
I wouldn't be able to say
So-
them off.
Well, some
Okay.
people in the audience are saying it was two, but
We only had 2 people come back last year. John and
Price.
Price, that was it.
Yes, and this year nobody's coming back but Angela.
Angela. And she's only back until July when she leaves for the swap summer.
And that's all who's going to come back this summer.
So we're not talking a big cost. But the thing is, the definition of entitlement changes your problem with...
Okay, stop. Everybody stop. Stop. There is no public discussion on here. Thank you. I appreciate the input on how many people we have coming back. I really do. Thank you very much. Ms. Huffer, 2 people came back last year, correct?
John and Price.
And we have Angela back this summer. That would be 1, correct, Coach? Okay.
Rachel Weinstein too, but I can't.
Rachel Weinstein, is she swimming right now, students?
She was last summer.
She swam last summer?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not talking big amounts. Entitlements. So can we, I like the idea. I think there's value added.
I don't have any problem, but I think it's a lot easier to argue with than it was the lifeguards that did that. So I think everyone can, play it around.
Steve?
Yeah, it just really comes down. I get it. I really do. It's a nice thing to do. They're great kids, and I understand. They come back and in some way, I guess they inspire. But there's also other people in this community that inspire. Because that's what somebody told me. They said, "Oh, they inspire kids." The most inspiring thing I ever seen in the water was a girl swim with no legs.
Yeah.
Pretty inspiring. She's on a fixed income in town. Guess what? She has to pay full price to swim, right? She doesn't get a swim for free. She doesn't get an entitlement to swim. You said, well, she wasn't an NWACer. Well, guess what? She's a taxpayer. She lives in this community, yet she doesn't get a swim for free. Inspiring. Oh my God.
Yeah, I understand. I share your feeling and worrying about the range of people in the society. We can pick up all sorts of different cases. The simplicity of the entitlement argument is that you have a credit that's built up by paying your dues. And so if a person has gone through, that limits the number of people that can get that entitlement. And if they go to college and then come back, so if we're talking 2 or 3 people, they come back to home and the kids see them and it's something. If it was swimming, if they were using the pool to swim other than at NWAC times, I could see them having to buy a pass. But just for the NWAC entitlement, because that's the return on the fees. So that a person would have to be in NWAC over time to be in an analogous position. Okay? Otherwise, they're in that broad social set of issues, which we try to look after, but with a myriad of approaches because of the differences. If that makes sense. Sean just jumped something.
Oh, the dimmer switch just went up a little, not much. What does TAC do? Because they're a tax base. The only reason I didn't ask what King or Silverdale or Bellingham or Port Orchard does is I know TAC is similar to us and they're a tax base. What does TAC do?
I don't have an answer to that. Perhaps Director Walker might.
I don't know either.
Um,
Anyway, so I don't think that we have to say it's gifting. That's the point. And
Okay. No, I think that's good. Yeah. I think you just said something really important there. We can go back and visit this. We have 1 person swimming this summer. There's 3 of us here. It would be a great thing to revisit with an entire board. Because no matter what we decide,
Why don't you, I would prefer the crafting to let us delay the decision to next fall and let the status quo work, and then we'll revisit it.
like,
Because if it's 1 person, you get the 1 person through, you're not gifting, because I'm really skittish about giving 1 person a break.
well, I can tell you she's not going to be gifted because I know there people have stepped up, and I'm going to stick my foot in it here, and I don't mind. I know there are people that have stepped up that will pay for Angela to swim without her. So that's not an issue for this time. But I think it's something we need to address. I think it needs to be researched. I think it needs to be researched more. I think we need to make sure that we can do as a tax-based district an entitlement. I think we need to find out what TAC's doing, only because TAC is set up separately. Go ahead,
I'll
Steve.
tell you one problem I have. It's like, I feel for you right now, actually, because on one hand, he's getting beat up because he did it a certain way, but now we're encouraging him to do it that way. I mean, it's kind of,
What we're trying to do is build...
we're basically saying, all right, be as crafty as you can, Bill Walker, even though what you did over here, we didn't really like it, but you were crafty. And there are people here in this room right now that think it was horrible, but yet here we are. We're encouraging him to keep on doing it. continue to be crafty.
I would prefer to think that we're starting to focus on the right thing, and the right thing is what are we doing for the
Can I ask you an honest question? Do you feel a little kind of like right now, it's like mixed signals on this?
Well, part of the problem here is you all rely on me to give you facts and let you have opinions. This one I've got a really strong opinion on, and as I present the facts to you, it's important for me to do my best to stick to the facts and not lay out opinions. That's not my job here. So I can tell you that, here I'll try to craft this the right way for you, Alan. Your comment about going through for 10 or 12 years through NWAC and earning an entitlement, I look at it a little differently. In this year's budget, as you know, the dues and the meat revenue come $40,000 short of even paying for the team expenses before they get in the water. And then there's another 6,000 lane hours of pool time that we hand to the team for free. The commission is on record supporting this model, and so am I. I love the model. Everybody here in this room, I think, knows what a swim team does for a community. That is great. But I guess my point about that is under that model, with each successive year that a kid stays on the team, you could make the point, here's where I get into opinion, so I apologize for this, but you could make the point that they owe the team and the district and the taxpayers who are covering their bills a little more, not that they have earned an entitlement. And that decision is up to you, but that's to me, those are facts. There's $40,000 a year the taxpayer reaches in his pocket and hands to the swim team to pay for the expenses.
If you want to play that theme, the school system costs a lot more than anybody puts into the school. But this is analogous in the sense that if you have a good quality swim team, what you do is you're training kids in all sorts of skills which they can take on into life. And if the kids go away to college and come back and the other kids see what it's like to go to college, you're helping get them to college. So it's part of that education theme again. And so yes, we subsidize the kids, and yes, the kids perform. And in performing, they grow. And that's our job.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
along those lines, that's a great point, and I'm doing my best to see your way here. Okay, so as an example, 3 summers ago, we sent 2 kids to nationals in the summer. Two college kids came home, were under this program, which was approved by the district, to not pay dues for the entire summer. They got their coached water time. They got the trip. Their families obviously paid for their trip to nationals, but we paid for the coach's salary and the coach's travel expenses. The taxpayers paid for that. Now, you can look at that as gifting, or I'm trying to see your way of looking at it. You could look at it as inspiring the community, which if you look at the articles that were in the paper at the time, it was extremely inspiring to the community. That would be one way to look at it.
Lots of ways to look at anything.
And I apologize for letting the opinions get in the way.
It's fine. But the thing is, if there are aspects, if there are expenditures that are tied into a broader sort of program or activity, then gifting is not one piece or the other piece of that. The activity is what you're funding. And if the kids are being paid by their families to go to nationals, and if we pay for a coach, that's ancillary to a much broader project. It's not a gift when the coach goes with the kids to the nationals. That's one of the swim team activities. A gift is, and if you made us look at that stupid video, and I looked at it twice. So that I'm quoting the video.
Made you do that.
Well, Sean, if you made me do it, I'm quoting the video.
Almost got away with it.
I think there's a misinterpretation of what it was. Those were 4 cases, and they were showing what it would look like.
Yeah, and Linda said, and can I interrupt, please?
Sure.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, what Alan is talking about, so everybody knows. It was from the MSRC, Linda Rainfart. That's not her last name, please.
Lynn?
Yeah, Lynn. Thank you. Lynn. Wait, that was a guy? Oops. So the person that presented the video was from MRSC, is their legal counsel, even though they don't call themselves legal counsel. And what it was a MRSC presentation that you can go on online and view that talks about district responsibilities, commission roles, and directors, or, what do they call them, directors, executive officers roles. And it's put together by MRSC. All right, and so that's the thing that Alan was talking about. So go ahead, please.
I was just thinking of what Steve was worried about before, and I was thinking, we could move very quickly into like the Special Olympics. We could work into the similar type of thing for college for people if maybe Bill had time to work that through. What the potentials are on this, sort of letting kids come back for if they have an entitlement because of their performance here.
Right.
And that way we could get a broader group that in fact have done the performance level of the ones that we look at that are going on to the nationals and the mainstream. Because the Special Olympics are huge things too.
And I don't mean to see it from a different way, but we all have our own lives we live. And, definitely want to help people. When I hear people make comments like, if you charge me $50, I'm not going to swim, that blows me away, because I can't believe that would be the deciding factor whether you come in here every day or not. I understand everything you've said, Alan, that, I understand that the kids inspire. And I get it that it's a good thing to do, especially since that's what they've been doing. And I'm sure, like Angela, when she came home, the last thing she was thinking is somebody's going to charge her money, to swim. I guess I'm really struggling with the fact that there's other people in our community that are strapped financially, yet they still have to pay. And you can say, well, they didn't swim NWAC. Okay, they didn't swim NWAC. Maybe physically they couldn't, or maybe financially they couldn't. Because right now there's kids that were on the team that can't swim now because we put this policy in place that they have to, the only criteria I think we're looking at is reduced lunch program. If they're on the reduced lunch program, then their fees get reduced. It's not free for them to swim. So, and that's my thought on it. You've got people in this town that financially they cannot afford to swim, so we don't let them swim. They're also probably the same kids that, a lot of them won't go to college when they grow up. So a lot of them are never going to have that opportunity to swim, yet we're going to let this kid over here who comes home swim. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, it does. I'm just trying to think that what the entitlement would be to swim with NWAC at NWAC times. Not to swim like at recreational swimming or those, you'd have to pay to come in like a member of the public to do that. But for them to be able to go back to the crowd that they'd actually swum with, so that it's a limited thing.
Yeah.
And if a kid was not swimming with NWAC and had to pay to go in, they'd have to pay to go in the same way if it wasn't in an NWAC time. And they couldn't swim with NWAC.
If it's legal, I'll support it, if it's legal. But then there's
I
that
understand
part.
what you're saying. I'm fussing with what you're saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the discussion.
We shouldn't,
Appreciate it.
and I thought about my earlier comment to have Coach do it, and I quickly thought about that as Alan made me revisit those wonderful videos with that personable guy, Glenn, that gave it. And one of the things we should do, if we want to look into this, we should give it to you to give it to whomever. That's the way that's supposed to go. We're not supposed to.
The legal crap that you get out of this stuff is so constraining.
It is.
It's really important to look at the community and what you're doing and make sure that we're doing a good job for them.
I think we need to find out if we can do an entitlement first.
Well, we can. We just do it. You don't have to get permission to do an entitlement.
I'm not asking permission from the state. What I'd like to do is make sure with the state auditor that and MRSC that we can actually do that.
All you got to do is build it into the program when you're writing what the NWAC people do.
I really,
It's past practice. So
and past practice has gotten us in trouble.
Well,
And we're about to, I'm not about getting in trouble. I've spent the last year and listening about trouble. So I would much rather be proactive since it's not going to affect us this summer. We know that. I would much rather put all our eggs in one basket. Wow, I can't believe I said that. And find out if we can actually do it first. Let's take the time and look into it.
Well, look, you have to cast it as, we've done it, are we going to get in trouble? Rather than, how many legal problems can you find a lawyer so that we can't do it?
But there is the MRC, there is the state auditor to go to the guidance.
They're a bunch of fucking lawyers.
But they don't charge us. MRC doesn't charge us. It's for free.
I'm going to ask a little question.
And Nathan, what's the little question?
Little question is, we have an entitlement that we've tied into our program for years, so the kids, when they come back, don't have to pay in the summertime. Is this illegal?
Okay.
And it's not named, it's just an entitlement, and then we can play to try and see how we can make this into something else.
Okay, say they're not a senior. Say they were on the gold practice group. They were one of his kids, swimming high school swim group, and they just say, I want to swim with NWAC. And Coach Bill says, well, you know what? You can't swim with junior seniors because you're not there. So he joins NWAC and swimming with the gold. 6 months later, goes to college. Come home. Does he also get a swim with NWAC for free? He was only on the team for 6 months. Wasn't on the senior team. Was on the gold practice group.
There was no.
It's a good question. We have to fuss more. I think I'm not disagreeing with your point of view at all. I'm just trying to make it good.
To make sure that we ask the right question, do you want to ask the question to MRC?
Sure, I'll ask.
Awesome.
Oh, that'd be great. That way we ask the correct question.
Well, it may not be the correct question, but it won't be cast in the...
And that's what I want to make sure. Yeah. That way,
When are you going away?
Shall I get you the contact info?
Oh, yeah. But because I'm away until next Thursday, and then I'm happy to put as much time into it as it takes.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be happy.
All right, so we're going to table this until we have more information and we can discuss it further.
That's right. Meanwhile, we're
next
not going
month.
to, if anybody comes in that's in that category, we'll let them swim for the summer.
That's
We'll keep
policy
track of how
now.
many.
That's policy now, and I didn't hear a change.
We haven't changed the
That's
policy.
right. But you'll keep track of the numbers so that we know what this means. Somebody will.
We have Team Unified as a separate billing group that comes out essentially as $0.
All right.
That's where they'll go.
Any more discussion on returning seniors?
Can I just add one thing as far as when we revisit this? If you look back to the budget assumptions that were part of the budget that, I guess just you approved, Commission approved last fall.
Don't say just me,
You're
please.
the only one left.
I'm the only one from that board left. Let's put it that way.
The budget assumptions that were behind the budget looked at, since we haven't had a dues increase in 7 years on NWAC.
Yes, but policy.
There would be an increase considered for the September. So I would expect that I would have a preliminary proposal to you by the July 11th meeting.
Yes, I think that's what Alan asked
We had-
before him.
And we would be able to have some research done on the returning senior group as well, so they'd just be part of the entire package.
I think with one returning senior this year, that'd be,
Not to apply for September.
Yeah, no, that's starting, that's fair.
coming.
Okay.
For the next cycle, like
Right,
building
yeah, so
five.
we leave everything as is.
okay, yes,
Just clarifying what I'm hearing.
yes, yes,
But for your budget for next year, building 5.
okay. We now, we have prepare for the directors, I'm sorry, are there any other discussions? Steve?
No, sir.
Alan, anything further?
About what?
The returning seniors.
I thought we killed it.
Okay, good, we're done. Moving on to prepare for directors annual review, we're going to go into executive session for that and for one other reason. We need to call the attorney and talk to the attorney about some legal issues. So it is now 8:05. Is he still going to be around for us? Is Kelly going to be around for us to call him? I thought we had to call Kelly.
That was going to be on the June 27th. We'll give it a try.
We'll give Kelly a try, and so what we'll do is we'll set this for 20 minutes, and if we have to extend it, we can extend it, but we can't go short. So at 8:05, we will go into executive session. All right, we will call the meeting back to order out of executive session at 8:49. We talked about the process for the evaluation, and where's my daggone agenda? There she goes. All right. That will be sent out. I have to change the names on the agenda sheet that we used last year and I'm going to use again this year. That will be sent out again to all 5 commissioners, one also to Kurt, with the only change being obviously to take the vacant seat out from Dennis and put Kirk Huffer's name on. Nobody is to send them back to me, and then it'll go out in the directions because we will discuss them next month at the July 11th meeting at 7 p.m. Any other further discussion about the Director's Annual Review? Alan?
No, we're just going to take the data that we've got from that subcommittee as part of the working data for the evaluation.
You're going to give me a copy tonight, and if you could also give a copy of those findings to Kirk, I would appreciate it. Any other discussion from Mr. Hoffmeyer?
No, sir.
All right. Finish with that. Cool. We've got one last thing. Thank you, sir. Do I need to make copies? I need to bite that off.
I think I may have some.
Do you have the detailed ones we were talking about there, sir?
This is the one that was given out as
You don't have this one,
This is the joint.
because that has Alan's comments at the end.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
Those are our shared comments.
Those are the shared. Thank you, sir.
No, if you got the one with mine on it, you'd see it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
We organized everything from here to New York.
All right. The last and final... No, not at all. The last and final item for this evening is discuss the roles of director and commission. This has been brought up by both sides, and it's something I think we need to discuss and move forward with. And basically, it's on here to start the thought process by everybody. In the past, we've had overlapping and sometimes interesting roles by commission or commissioners and different roles by the director. And this is part of that Endurance and MRSC that we sent out, which defines roles. And I took a personal thing in this because of having friends that work as in my industry or profession as people that work for special districts, how that can be an interesting place to be because there is a gray area between administration and policy and operations and policy. And I think we've never done a job here in the past, and I can find not a whole lot, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, where we've actually sat down and tried to be definitive about the roles of the commission and the director.
Well, not since Craig was here.
Okay.
When Craig was here, we had a fairly good understanding. But we had the mandate of the district was very clear, and I think that somehow that's got garbled up in the last couple of years. And I think if we started there, and to me, the mission is one of providing good quality recreational programs, ranging from competitive programs to programs just for the community, like recreational swims and so on, and everything in between. And to do it as inexpensively as possible for the public. In other words, we tried to keep it about 50% was fees generated and 50% was levy. And we didn't apologize in the levy campaign. We said you can't pay for a swimming pool, it's too expensive. But we'll do our best to try and keep these programs in balance. And with that, we had sort of set a framework. And once you've got the framework, then it becomes relatively easy to decide what's administering things and what are things that are changing enough. And the role of this commission was to speak for the public and to be sort of a break to make sure that what happened out here in the pool of the administrative side didn't hit entrenched communities. So that what you would see is a give and take through the board, where you get things essentially not just stop because the board was paused. Maybe things would be brought up where the board would say, hey, this crowd here sounds like they really like something, type of thinking. So that was the interchange that went back and forth. And we didn't play around with administrative details, the operation of the place. One person that we all know well would be really complaining about a valve that was leaking somewhere. And they really didn't make it onto the agenda of the commission because that was administration. But if nothing got fixed for a long time, then the complaints would make it on our agenda, and we go and get after the director, and, essentially Craig at that time. So there was a balance. But it wasn't a balance you can define. What it was a sort of difference in roles, and then, as you said, the thing went back and forth across that line every once in a while. And I think if I went into the differences, then it would get confusing. But that's basically what the framework was. But the important thing was that there was an agreement on what we were trying to do. And what I see in the last time that I've been back since I had my year off is that there isn't an agreement. That administration has become, how do I balance the books? How do I make sure something pays for itself? How can I justify a program on expense? And if that had come up in the previous era, the test would have been what I was giving you a question on tonight, is how does this fit with the community? What is the community concerned about? Is this actually making a mess of a whole pile of people's lives by doing something that looks logical when you're sitting in a nice clean box? And the answer is sometimes yes, even with the best of intentions. You'll make a big mess. And you don't want to do that because the public is our boss. And we're the ones that speak for that public. And so that gives us where we're coming in from it to criticize anything. There's no limit on, oh, well, if it's a book that you're putting together, you can't talk about that because it's administration. Balderdash, if the public's concerned, then we can talk about it. But we have to talk about it as a public concern. Not, well, with Craig, we did try and get him to do the books a little bit differently, so that doesn't work so well. But if you get that idea. Okay, so that it's sort of it's a spheres of influence rather than something that you can sell that a lawyer would write down. Okay, the two sides. That was just speaking my lawyer opinion. Sorry.
I've got something I'm going to say, but I was going to say, I think you hit something that we just rewrote or redid the bylaws.
Yes.
And I think...
You did a super job on it.
Thank you, sir. I think what we need to do is the next step to go forward in this is to come up with a clear mission statement for the district. And a separate mission statement.
It would make life really a lot easier because then one could, rather than saying, look, these things aren't right, these particular actions, one can always go back and test them against what the real values are, which are the community, and then everybody can play the same game. So.
You said one interesting thing that I thought was kind of strange. The books with Craig could have been better.
Yes. It was one of our favorite projects.
So, are you saying...
He was always honest. There's no question and no slurs on him. It's just, he didn't. Program planning and budgeting was something which was theoretical. And when one tried to isolate expenses by program, as you're trying to do, that went beyond what the books could do at that time. Okay. Yeah, and it was, but he tried hard. He was a good guy that way. I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying that it's one of those things where if you talk administration, usually that type of thing would be seen as administrative, and the purpose of the program is not, unless it's a mess, and then the commission has to get involved and encourage that things change. Okay. And Craig could tell us no, and we would have to discuss it. It's not a one-way street. It's okay.
Okay. Yes. He asked, Director Walker, when we talk about paying attention to the community, it's hard sometimes to separate NWAC from everything else. But when you look at the swim instruction program, he actually, I think he has tried to listen to the public on some of this. And I want to be fair to him on some of that. I don't think he's a person that doesn't care what the public has to say about anything. And I just want to throw that out. I'm not saying maybe things could have been done differently here or there, but I think when you look at him as a person, I think there are cases where you can pick out where he actually has tried to listen to the community, and I want to bring that up, and I don't want to say that he never does, and could he more? Sure, we all could, right? But and that when we talk about the books under Craig being kind of a mess, what we're saying is he inherited books that were a mess.
Let's just say they were in process.
Okay. So he inherited something in process. Okay.
So to help us better define these roles, I think it's imperative that we start with a mission, a clear mission for our
It
district.
would be really a lot easier.
So what I'd like to task the three of us individually, and also Kirk to do for next month, is to talk with folks and take this next month to search for ideas for our mission statement. So we can start that process in July as a board defining what we want as a clear mission, so that as one of the things we do after we talk about the director's annual review is to have a clear mission statement so we can go forward with that. And with somebody doesn't want to leave, that's a good thing. And so we can go forward after that review with a clear mission statement and then start to define those roles more easily.
Is there,
Yeah.
the levy campaign, of course, is a really good indicator of how we try to present ourselves to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should be proud of both campaigns because we never got less than 57%, which in most elections is pretty darn good, But with the supermajority, it's a real problem. And we had some pretty clear statements, and I think Julie Wilson did a really good job on that, of what we were telling the people the mission of this district was when we were trying to get them to vote for
Do
it.
you want to get that from Julie?
I would love to try and find it. I don't know if I have that.
We have it on some network here.
Is it on there? Good, because and those would be important statements to have in consideration, because that's what we told the public we were doing. And it seems like maybe, if we're honest, we should.
That sounds like a great idea, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can bring that next month for comment. If you could also contact Julie and anything from her. Any other discussion about the roles of the director and the commission before we go on?
I don't know what you want to discuss.
I think we found a way forward, which is the mission statement. And
Is
then,
that what we were supposed to do?
yeah, we're going to come back next month and discuss setting a mission statement. So we'll have the bylaws, the mission statement, and that'll help us.
Will we have lots of public participation time too?
I'm sure we will.
Okay, good. So
It's
people
a-
can argue it, because the time to be smart is when you've got everybody.
And nobody's saying, because I can't make a motion, nobody's saying we're going to vote on a mission statement next month. We'll just have ideas for a mission statement, which will help us go forward in the
Now,
future.
that is an important point, and that's an important point on the administrative side too. And that is, a quick decision may be a real mistake, because it's a political process.
That's right.
And we have to fuss.
That's right.
And if everybody gets their time to fuss, and eventually we get smart enough that we understand where everybody is.
So my direction to Kirk and the three of us, that was Marine Corps math, I apologize. So the four of us total, I was counting Lori too, so I will send that to her, is to research what we'd like to see in a mission statement so we can then put something together for everybody to digest, because we know it's where we're going to get some public feedback, as Alan said. Jeff, please.
Is there currently an older mission statement that's out there?
You know what, if there is, that's great.
Is it really long?
Yeah, it was,
Many paragraphs, it talks about...
It's too much, yeah. As you said, it's too
That's
much.
our
A mission statement should be like a paragraph,
Yeah, 4 sentences would do fine.
Yes. So,
Did you want that for a starting point? Because it's on the network, so
Oh,
I'm going
God.
to take that up and forward it.
can we send it out, or are we gonna have to bring
I think it's
disc
on-
in and,
No.
start handing those out to the public? No, if you can send that out, and actually do me a favor, send it out with the, we're going to develop a mission statement to Jesse from the paper, and to everybody that's on our notifications for the monthly meeting. That way we get as much word out there as possible, so we get as much feedback as possible. Anybody disagree or no?
And no references to any Rs or sections or numbers.
Alan requests that there's no reference to an RCW, a WAC,
If it's on there
anything
now, would you
with
like
a
me to
number,
back that
no.
up?
Yes, repress everything, because you know what, it'd be really nice to know what we wanted as a community rather than what the lawyers told us we had to have.
Good. All right. We're done with the mission statement. All right, before we do the A word, and that's adjournment, is there any other, I figured after I threw that one out there, I better clarify. Is there any other business, Alan?
Was there anything on the sheet?
No, there's not. Any final comments? Any?
Move we adjourn.
Are we allowed to discuss the attorney?
Right.
Well, we need to make a public motion.
Discuss.
Well,
Oh, yes, we have to make that motion.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Keller Allen.
Stop,
Okay.
because I already have a motion on that's been
Yes,
made.
I retract or whatever it is, my motion.
Thank you, sir. I can retract the motion. So is there any other discussion?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize Keller Allen to represent the district and the individually named party to include former Commissioner Scott Vogt in the matters before us and to execute conflict forms.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Yes, that's, yeah.
We have a second. Any further discussion?
What it essentially does is add Scott to the list of people in whatever court cases
As a former commissioner.
as a former commissioner.
Right.
Exactly.
Not as an individual, but as a former commissioner. All right. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passed. Any other last comments, statements, or concerns?
I've already said what I was going to move, so I'll let Steve decide.
So we have a motion for adjournment. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we see you on the 11th.
July the 11th at 7 p.m. as a reminder for everybody here. We will also send that out. Bill, could you please send that out to Jesse and the whole group that asked for, and can we send that out as soon as possible, please? So that, I know we're only required 24, but when we change things like that,
Oh, yeah,
Thank you.
but it's 20 days for the...
20 days for the resolution change, but let's also get that out to the public as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
I have to sign something because I got to be on the road at 6:30 tomorrow morning.
Okay,
There you
so you can hang out a minute while I wrap up the new document.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,